You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Three, two, welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
Did you at least make it on time for NIS?
I did not miss the race, Brad Wren.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, John Curley.
Hey, iRacers.
And Greg Hectus. On today's show, we will get up to speed on special events and new series coming to iRacing, walk through the Season 2 Patch 1 fixes and updates, see how Formula One champ Max Verstappen relaxes before a race, and congratulate a first-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series winner, and hear from professional drivers as they share their thoughts on iRacing in the rain.
And that's right, Mike. And remember that you can follow along with us on your PC or your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting the show notes. We hope to see you there.
All right, for some of us, our priority is making sure we know when the time changes. For others, it's just making sure they can relax when they're waiting on their real race. Well, how does Max do it, Mike?
Well, yeah, Max Verstappen is what does he want to do? He wants to iRace, not his regular job. But that's what he's been doing throughout the Grand Prix weekend. Is when he's not on the track, he's on the virtual track in iRacing. He was spotted March 9th at 5:50 a.m. In a session playing with the rain, and we had a bunch of different spottings actually of Max. The next one was a video put up by at Scuderia Femboy. He said Max was up until 4 a.m. on iRacing. Now this was I think on qualifying day. He literally sounds like he has a cold too, and yet he's probably still going to lap the field tomorrow. Yeah, so actually this would be the night before the race.
Gosh,
And then finally, I'm sorry, Brad. One more thing was a video, a different video that shows Max and his teammates from Team Redline trying out the iRacing rain and having a lot of fun. You could tell he was having a blast.
to have such a life, I can't imagine.
And I don't have a link, but somewhere else, I think on Facebook, they said he brought his rig with him this weekend, or I don't know.
Was it actually his rig that he brought, or was it something that he had a temporary setup, didn't he?
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Because I remember the one stream I watched, or not watched, but I saw the thing posted. It looked like he was sitting in a normal chair, like maybe like a gaming chair, not an actual racing chair.
Well, if that second post is his stream, there's triples there.
Yeah, it could be. You're right. I thought it was from a different angle, though. I thought I saw one from looking down above him, like he was more straight on. That one.
Yeah, it looked like he's in a hotel there, almost.
Oh, the one with the triples was another guy, David.
Ah.
He's and I'm pretty sure that these hotels, I bet you they probably could get him whatever he needed too. They probably are all inclusive, waiting hand and foot on him, right?
Well, I think I tried to bring this up in the chat too. Look, if you're a multimillionaire and you have, $50 million in the bank, what is your extravagance? What are you going to flout that money on? Boy, I'd have a personal rig crew that flies with me and sets up my rig for me in my hotel room, and that way I can iRace every day. even when I'm doing my job.
That wouldn't take a crew. One person could do that in a reasonable amount of time.
Oh, yeah, sim rig guy. Just that's all you do.
I would
I
probably
like
have
it.
the job as sim rig guy.
A
Give that
roadie,
job to me.
sim rig roadie.
He probably could have other responsibilities too, right? Like maybe his hauler driver ends up also having to put the rig together.
You
They don't
know,
have hauler drivers, but yeah.
yes, they do.
Oh, okay.
They have all those command centers and all that stuff is all in trailers. Um, Mike, he's just a measly $72 million net worth. Sorry, 72 million pound net worth.
That's all. Okay. Well, good for Max.
Well, he may not be at the level of F1 money, but Daniel Morad has won a Rolex 24 and a GTD. And we've got just a short YouTube short of him driving in the rain on some GT cars. I don't know if he's racing AI or just running up through a field. And it says our title on the script is "Did iRacing get it right?" And he doesn't really say anything in the video, but his title, his header, says that you should really try it.
Well, the grin on his face, I think, speaks the volumes too. And we actually do have a quote from Daniel in the next section down. I'll go ahead and read that now. He said, quote, "In my opinion, this is incredibly realistic. I've driven Sebring in the rain, and it's legit exactly the same."
Yeah, there's another video that he had on his channel last week and spent some time, actually going through a lap, explaining, getting on the line, off the line, for the wet line versus a dry line, and then he makes quite a bit of mentions that iRacing did get it right. From puddles where they are on the track at Sebring, he said it was spot on. So that same article that we linked to, Tony Kanon, gave the same thing. I've never experienced something like this in my life. So saw some of the early release stuff. They did the ambassadors we talked about last week, but Tony then saying same thing, that it's spot on for guys that have raced in the rain before.
And this article also gave out another tidbit. Rave reviews of the new racing has helped iRacing surpass 250,000 active users for the first time ever. A quarter of a million. That's a big number. I mean, just in 2021, 3 years ago, that number was not even half of that, right?
I mean, I think people have been asking for this for, gosh, forever. Again, it's good. I think it's good. I don't like it. I'd rather run in the dry, but I think it's good.
Man, it's hard. And a GTD especially, or I mean a GTP is, well, yeah, GTD, Daytona. I just get my acronyms mixed up since they rotated, but those are almost undrivable when it's fully wet.
Which rolls us into the next one, David, which is called Hard to See. Greg Hill, director of graphics over there, he basically posted, "We received a lot of great feedback about the new rain. One item in particular is that the brake or rain lights on the back of the car don't punch through the mist well enough. Addressing this has been a priority for the rendering team. Expect significant improvement in one of our next patches."
I haven't been through the patch notes yet, even though we're going to cover it later. Was it in the patch notes?
Yes.
Okay, because I ran. We got out of school earlier today, getting ready for spring break, so I got home early and ran about an hour's worth of practice at Suzuka, and it definitely was a little bit easier to see the cars. But also, it stopped raining in the middle of the practice. When I started, it was a downpour, and I actually got to practice, do a whole fuel stint, and it was interesting how much the track was drying just in that 1 hour.
Yeah, I turned some laps Tuesday night, experienced the same thing. So it was pretty neat, trying to have to look for the line. So definitely felt more encouraged after that, as opposed to they had the weather wrong, I guess, when they started the the week because it was just Suzuka was a torrential downpour. I mean, it was puddling, ponding everywhere. You could hardly complete a lap. So they've made some changes.
Well, did they in the patch? Because the forecast still says about 90% chance.
No, on Monday night when it flipped, I mean, it was just a nonstop torrential downpour. So they did something by Tuesday. They changed it. There was a post on the forum that they had made a mistake, and they fixed it.
Okay. Because there's still an element of randomness, even with the forecast.
Yeah, I mean the way it is that there's always the forecast doesn't change. It's just each session. So if you go into a 9 o'clock, all the 9 o'clock sessions are going to be the same, but they could be different from an 11 o'clock session.
Now, haven't tried it since the changes, but when I was running the rain and I got right up behind a car, I could not see those tail lights. So I am encouraged to hear that's fixed.
For me, I don't know if it was because the rain was lighter, but the mist just didn't seem as thick.
That was addressed in the patch too, which we'll get to.
Okay, I just discovered it anecdotally. All right, this next video is actually pretty cool, and it's what happens if you park a car in the middle of the road on iRacing and force all the cars to drive around it. I guess he did this with an AI race, and it actually allowed you to see the track drawing where the cars were running.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty neat. Go ahead.
right at the exit of the bus stop at Daytona.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I mean, it's not a canned effect, and I think that's what Dan was trying to figure out. It is where the cars are running. So with a car parked there, the AI cars had to go around that car, and that's the part that dried. So while the parked car was really on the driving or the racing line, what would normally be the exit of the bus stop. So again, I just think kudos. It's like I said, it's dynamic, so it's not just a canned effect to say, hey, as time progresses, it's going to clear up on the driving line.
This is a great video. I mean, it's real short, but it's a really time lapsed fast, where you can see that drawing effect, so happen, so quickly in front of your eyes. When in reality this probably took 45 minutes or something.
All right, how about the next one, John? What do we got?
Yeah, we got a spinner. We had a post from D Moss on X, shows what happens to a GTP car after getting hit at the exit of Eau Rouge at Spa. And, it's funny when you see this car just go up in the air, comes back down, and it just spins down the track fast. And then it spins and spins, and then it finally gets up on its nose and disappears. Just a little bug, you see these occasionally, the car flies apart. But yeah, never happened to me, but it looks cool.
The momentum gets stronger and stronger, not weaker, as you would expect. And like you said, when it kind of gets up on its end and it just spins right up into the air and disappears. It's the craziest thing.
As buggy as that was, it was neat to see that the mist that's coming off or the spray is relatable to what parts of the car are hitting the ground. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like it's just some sort of canned effect. That's again, I just think they've done a good job with this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really
you're right.
feels like physics. And that leads us to the next one, which was a 13th week Ferrari fixed Tempest issue. And so this is kind of what started the patch, I believe, where they found an issue with the forecasting system, Brad, and then they got this addressed.
Yeah, I think this one was even a little more dramatic. apparently with this one during week 13, said every session had rain on lap 4, starting in the dry, to the point that people had been running wets to start the race in the dry, knowing that it would rain on lap 4. So again, that symptom that we're how the way it's supposed to work is forecast is the same, but sessions could be different. This was a consistent, the weather was identical for every single session, to the point where on lap 4, every race it was raining.
I see. So they could just say, "Oh, we're going to put on wets," knowing on lap 4 it's going to rain.
Yeah, which defeats the whole purpose. You get back to where nothing is dynamic and it's just the same thing.
All right, tell us about the landmine, Mike.
Yeah, the next one was SRX car. Zach on the Twitter, he posted up a video showing a landmine with that car at Bristol, right in the middle of the track. That thing looks like he hit a bomb. It goes off and goes up in the air.
It looks like it was on the backstretch. I was thinking about that last night. I was like, I wonder if it's still here somewhere.
He's about a car length off the wall. It's not like, he caught the wall or something. And then interestingly, it's stuck at the very top of the catch fence.
All right, a lot of sponsors have contests going on every season, and we're going to cover those again real quick. It's essentially a sponsor for a series, and if you run their paint in that series in the primary location, you have a chance at their prize. There's Conspit is sponsoring one of them. You can get a set of pedals, it looks like, as well as a steering wheel from them. Moza is sponsoring one of the series. You got a chance at winning their R5DD racing bundle. 10 race requirement, I believe, on that one. Skip Barber, that one is the one where you can get a chance to run in a Skip Barber, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, you get a 1-day package at the Skip Barber Racing School. Learn how to drive, so you get to get in the real car.
And unsurprisingly, that is the Skip Barber that you're going to drive in that one. SimMotion.com also has a $500 store credit and a $100 store credit available. That's with the FF1600 series. Looks like they also have a 250 store credit for second division winner. Butt Kicker is sponsoring as well. What car are they doing? I guess any car.
Yeah, I don't see
Official
where
races?
it's to a specific series.
Yep. So that must just be any car. It doesn't indicate. Sim Magic is also in there. This one also doesn't seem to have a car indicated.
Formula V.
Okay, I overlooked it. Rickmatech is on there. Falcon Tire is on there. DOF
It never
Reality.
ends.
SimLab, yeah, and Maconi. So go check it out. I don't think we need to read every single one of them, but pick the series, pick the car, put the sponsor on, boom. And I really don't think that it matters if you run a trading paint or not. I think it just matters that you have it installed on the iRacing side, because they don't have a way to track whether you're running trading paints or not.
Correct. Even though that lady says otherwise.
That's right. She does every time.
Look, there's no way. If you run these kind of series, take a moment and go into the paint shop and assign these sponsor logos. Because look, when you're in the race, everyone else is seeing your iRacing. Excuse me, your trading paint, because that's what most people use. And so it's not like people are going to see these logos necessarily unless they don't use trading paints, which would be odd.
All right, Mike, let's recap the Coke race.
Well, it was a big emotional win for somebody who's been trying for so long. And it was Malik Ray. He finally gets it done. And at a restrictor plate kind of track at the new Atlanta Dega, which races like a restrictor plate anyway. He made the classic move where it's the last lap. He pushed the leader out in front. Now he backs up to the guy in third. The guy in third pushes him up past the leader who had no help, and he wins it at the line in a three wide battle. Very reminiscent of the actual NASCAR race, which was a dead heat as well. But Malik Ray gets it done. And the beauty of it, of course, is his exuberance. And he's so excited. I think this is his sixth year in the Coke Series without a win. And to get it finally done, congratulations to him. I hit him up personally, and a lot of people did. If you look at social media, he got a lot of love. Spire, his team, they invited him down to the shop the next day. He went down there and shot some video. But yeah, congratulations to Malik.
Yeah, I watched the race. It was relatively tame for the most part until we got started to get towards the end, and then like typical, bunch of yellows. But it was a good race. He ran good. Him and I think is it Kerwin? That's his teammate. I think it's Casey Kerwin. They worked together to drive up through there. So it was a good race. Glad to see him win.
This video is worth watching just to see his reaction after the race. I mean, for a good minute and a half, man, he is just going crazy, and he should. A well-deserved win. Glad he finally got one.
Yeah, now he's friends with Raja Karuth, and Raja drives for Spire. Malik drives for Spire. Raja got his first truck win. And Malik finally gets his, win here a week later. Uh, Raja was actually on the broadcast as a guest, came on and talked about his win a little bit and that kind of thing. So it was kind of neat to see that, come around full circle. And yeah.
So we can talk a little bit of points at the top. Right now, Colin Keister's leading it at 89 points. Casey Kerwin, Parker White, Wyatt Tinsley, and Donovan Strauss were leading at the top 5. However, Malik is sitting with 1 win, as well as Keegan Leahy and Wyatt Tinsley. And I still got to recap how that's all going to add up at the end. But I think 1 win drastically improves your chances of being in the playoffs.
You almost can't not be in the playoffs if you get a win. It is a win and in almost. It's not a for sure, but you have to be in the top 20 in points as well, I believe.
All right, John, what's wrong with the Proto GT series?
Yeah, so there was according to Greg West on the forums, he said they had to make the series inactive a little bit. There was a bug with the Ford GT2 that impacted competition. So they just made it inactive temporarily so they could address the issue. And they said it was going to be active after the patch today, actually. So I'm assuming they got it back up today like they wanted to. It was just a temporary thing, but it was down for a while.
Yeah, so if you go through we're going to hit the notes here in a second, but to close this one out, if you go through the notes, apparently the issue was that the opponent cars were fitted with cloaking devices. So not sure how that worked out, whether you just couldn't see them or what, but that was the bug. So pretty impactful to racing when you can't, I guess, see your competitors.
Can't remember the last time that they pulled a plug on a series for a problem like this, waiting for a release, even if it was a day or two. But it's the first time this happened as far as I know.
All right, so a patch came out this morning, right? Patch 1. We got some release notes. We already talked about the forecast bug that's in there. We basically have already talked about the rain lights being easier to see. There's a lot of items on the rain here.
As expected, that's what the week 13 is about. And they get that new stuff out to the general population. They quickly find what the problem is, and then they patch it, and that's exactly what all this is. Now, there's some AI
water
fixes.
effects. Sorry, windshield water effects. I did notice that because a week ago, I wasn't seeing anything on the windshield, and now I am.
Yeah, they forced that because there was a way you could turn off in graphics.
It depended
Now
on
you
what
can't.
the shader level I think you had.
I want to mention AI real quick because I see AI changes here, but um, it says AI drivers have been retrained on pacing speed and behavior on short ovals. Well, they obviously didn't fix what I saw at Bristol when I went into Bristol Tuesday night in the AI to practice. Now, one trick I do to try to save time to get on track is I pick standing start instead of rolling start, so I don't have to do pace laps. So so you grid up, it's on pit road. It's a standing start. You see the red lights go off, and all the AI cars just turn right into the pit wall, hard right, and they all pile up in a big pile as I pull off pit road and go out on the track by myself.
Well, they're probably not programmed for that track with the standing start.
That's what I was going to say. That's not the way anything would start in Bristol.
True, but I found a way to break it. Oh,
Any,
SemiCube. I want to mention this. Under controls, you're going to see SemiCube 360 hertz mode is now enabled. This one excited me this afternoon when I saw it. It said the latest True Drive release is required. I quickly went to SemiCube website, downloaded the latest software, installed it. I have yet to try this as it just came out earlier today, so I don't know exactly what it does. But my understanding is it increases the fidelity um, the stuff that's coming from iRacing that triggers the force feedback, from the API, and so it's a much higher fidelity. I think we were running at 60 hertz, and now it's 360 hertz.
Be curious to what the other wheelbases are using.
Well, the Logitech started this. So when the Logitech Direct Drive came out, it had this special Logitech Force thing, and basically it was 360 hertz. And so iRacing enabled that in their software, and now they've done it with SimiCube as well.
Dave, I think we texted in the text thread about this, but they did release a macro to where you can put a new tire on as far as the tire types. But I saw something in the forums that this may not be working. I think it's working the way they intended, but there, as usual, there may be some unintended consequences of it. It'll basically pick whatever the first type tire is. So if you're changing from dries to wet, the issue is if you hit it again, it will not go back from wet to dry. So that's
you have
not.
to have a button for each compound.
Yeah, but there's only. I don't know. I don't know if TC 2, 3. I don't know if that'll work or not. I haven't tested anything yet.
Yeah, the way I was reading it is that it was kind of like in formula cars, you have the red, you have the hard, soft, and medium tires, and the wet and dry is essentially using the same system. So you just have to bind, I guess, for each tire compound.
Yeah, like I said, there's a post on the forums I skimmed over tonight, but like I said, I haven't tested it yet to where if you can do, change the TC1, TC2, and whatnot to see if that'll work. So
It was interesting. Something I don't know as I was running that Suzuka race, it was really starting to dry up, and I could really feel the grip coming back. And I was wondering how much am I wearing my tires out? When I finished the stint, they were only down to about 80%. But I was like, how do I know when it's time to go to dry? Uh, I just don't have that, any experience in it.
no, I don't think really any of us do right now. So I mean, in real life, if you're out on a dry track and in wets tires, you're going to burn them up pretty quick. In real life, as guys, that transition period, you know, the guys will actually, like on the straights, they'll find wet spots to try to cool the tires down. But now we know that doesn't work in our racing. So again, I think this opens up, another level of racing that I'm hoping that eventually we'll get to the point where you can cool tires that way. That would make the most sense. But I think it's going to be a challenge because I noticed the same thing at Suzuka also. You can really see it drying up, but again, when do you pull the trigger and go to, go to slicks? That's what I don't know yet.
It's a stopwatch, see what the lap times are doing. That's what Formula One does, I believe. And when the times start fading, man, it's time to switch.
Well, which cars are going to get rain switched on next, Mike?
Well, that's the discussion in the forums under Corey Preston posted up. What do you guys foresee as the next batch of wet-enabled cars? He thinks the GT4, the TCRs, and the supercars. What do you guys say?
As long as it's not the stock cars, I don't care.
I think they would be last, the stock cars.
I think that's going to be last. I think you're going to start to see Miatas. I think you're going to start to see some of your slower road class cars get them, and I would anticipate, I guess, the rest of some of the open wheels. I mean, it really ought to be taken on a case by case basis. I would imagine there's probably some series that will not run in the rain, I would assume. I mean, so I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but it's going to be a progression.
I think some of it's based on class. I think they said like D class will never run in the rain.
Thank goodness.
Or I don't remember which class it was. It was either D or C, but they definitely said rookies would never run in the rain.
Well, I'm happy that you got to be at least A to get into IMSA. I hope they don't ever take that back down.
Yeah, another guy in the forums, he said, I'd like to see it based on the top 10 series as far as popularity. The top of the list is Global Mazda MX-5 Cup, Formula 1600, Formula V, and then on to the Butt Kicker Cup, Ferrari Challenge, GT Challenge, and so forth. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, Mike, UI issues might be your favorite topic.
Well, yeah, the beta UI, as I call it, it's unresponsive after completing a race. I had this the first night the patch came out. It was like you would click something and nothing would happen. You click it 5 times and nothing would happen. You'd close it and reopen it, it would work. It was weird. It seemed to get better as the days progressed, but this guy obviously had the same kind of problem. So what do you guys think?
I know there was a couple fixes they put out that didn't require any downtime, so I think that was some of the UI issues that they were correcting. I think even last week there was a few of those.
Yeah, I've only used the UI. I never did use the old member website, and never once did I have a problem with the UI until season 2. This patch came out. It seems like every time I would go to, like, if I wanted to look at results or if I wanted to withdraw from a race, I would get stuck there. Now, today is the first time since the release that I did not have that problem, although I didn't see anything about it in the patch notes today.
No, that's what I said. I think they did that on some of that behind-the-scenes stuff where they don't have to take anything down. I have never had an issue. Never, whether withdrawing or I don't know why. I mean, just again, never had an issue. UI's been flawless for me.
Well, let's jump right to the next one. Having issues finding your race results was another forum post. David, you were all over this week. You had a heck of a time because you were wanting to do a protest.
Well, I was able to do the protest because the race showed up on my homepage, but it didn't show up for a couple of days. The Sunday NIS race, it just wasn't populating, and it didn't populate until I ran some practice back in a sports car.
So when you go over on the left side to results and standings, your results weren't showing up?
The most recent results were not.
All right. Now, I will say, like, I went tonight to look at my result from last night, and it was all the way at the bottom. So it's like the time, either however it's sorting it is wrong because it was all the way at the bottom. So that I had to find it, but it was there. So I don't know if it's just a sorting issue.
Well, there's other people in the forums having the same problem, so obviously it's a problem. I went and clicked on results last night, and initially it was blank, but then populated. But I didn't see a problem with it once it did.
Yeah, I just went in and looked right now, and it's perfectly fine. It wasn't results. I'm sorry. I was looking for my replay, and the replay was like out of
Yeah, the
order. So
replays you have to sort by subsession. But like right now, well, this may be because that practice session hasn't ended, but I don't see the practice session from earlier. But it could possibly still be open because I don't, even though it started at like 3:47, so it should be well closed by now. And it's just not showing up. But if I go to the home page, I can see recent results and I can
A
pull it
couple
up.
things on the beta UI that I found a little annoying that maybe has been fixed or not, I don't know. But when I would go hit the little star to mark just show me my favorite series. And then I would close the UI and come back the next day and it shows me all the series again. It doesn't remember that I marked the star in the filter. It needs to remember where you left off and show you that same filter when you come back. And it's not doing that.
Yeah, and
uh,
it's still broken because that practice result should be showing up and it's not.
yeah, I haven't had any issue with with your favorites or starred, whatever you want to say. The only thing that really bugs me to no end is that if you filter by sports car for series, the Craftsman truck shows up in sports car, and I'm not sure why.
So has there been a response on this thread about the scheduling or about the results not showing up?
I haven't seen it, no.
No, I didn't see anything. It was just generally people were talking about, the UI freezes. But David, I did have the same problem. I would run a race, and 3 hours later, the results would not be there. Again, I think it's working now. So
It's
maybe
not.
some behind the scenes. Oh, mine is.
No, I should be able to see that practice session right now on my results and stats page, and it is not there. The last thing I have is last night's Bristol race. But if I click on racing home, and it shows up at the very top right as recent results. And I can access the results there. So the results are on the database, but it's not showing up on my results and stats page.
Yeah, broke. Yeah, overall though, I'm pretty happy with the new layout of the beta UI. It seems to be a little more intuitive than it was before. So yeah, well done.
All right, next going to be a pretty quick hit. We've just got a few of the links, but it's time to vote for your season 3 track schedules. So pretty much you can hit these links or go into the forums and look under each series, and there will be a link where you can vote on your schedules for season 3.
Yeah, the forums are very busy. This is only a sampling of the posts because there's literally one for every single series, and there's well over 100. So
So now, how does this vote work? I mean, can anybody get on there and vote, or is it just limited to certain people?
No, you've got there's typically a community, I'll say organizer or something that heads those up, and there's they do put up a poll to where there'll be selections in there. And of course it's depending on the series, they're always going to work in a new track or something like that. But yeah, you can go in and vote. So you just got to go to the forums. But there's
Okay.
guys that are that are tagged to do it every single season and then get the stuff back. I think Tyler Hudson is the one that heads that up.
I can't imagine going and voting on a calendar though that I don't participate in. I can't imagine caring enough to spend the time to do it.
look, if you run a regular series on the 12-week season, that you should participate. And every series is different. If you look at the big ones, they're quite organized, and they have Google Docs where you can open up and fill out a form and this and that. Others, it's just pretty informal. You're just putting in your commentary on the forum post about what you'd like to see.
All right, we've got one of the events coming up that's been announced, and it's actually more of a championship. We have the Nuremberg Endurance Championships, and it's a 9 race schedule for 2024. Is this one run in the same car every time, or is this one where it changes cars each time?
Full slate of GT and touring cars. So,
Sounds
looks like
like
it's
the
going to be,
same.
yeah, GT3s. GT3, you got all the normal GT3s, along with the GT3 Cup Porsche. You're going to have the GT4s, TCRs, and the Toyota. So, going to have a mix of GT3s and GT4s. So, same cars every time, just you've got different lengths to the races.
And now, different possible. One race may be dry, one may race may be wet.
We're happy to have.
4-hour events. One of them is listed as 6 hours.
Yep, right in the middle of, or right at the end of July. We have another endurance series that is a 4-race season, Creventic's Endurance Series. Tell us a little bit more about that one, John.
Yeah, so Krevinik Endurance Series, 4 rounds. It's going to have iRacers team up to take a series of the 12-hour endurance events at some of the best racing circuits. It's going to be back. So the first race is going to be April 27th, Autodromo, June 29th, Misano, November 9th, Autodromo, and then December 14th, Cirque du Spa. And this is going to be running GT3 cars, GT4, and the TCR cars. And I've obviously never been in this event, being one of the newer guys. But if that's your thing, take a look at it. It's on the forums.
All right, Mike, time slot and other changes are coming to FIA 4.
Yeah, the FIA 4, which is the car I've been running. And they have, I usually run the FIA F4 fixed, to be honest, which is separate from this. This is the FIA F4 regional tour. And they have them grouped by region. They got now Europe, and that's the difference. Before, Europe was spread into 2 groups. Now they've combined Europe into 1 group. So that's the change. The second group is now Asia Pacific, and then the next group, the Americas. And so they went from 4 groups to 3 groups, basically. This is in preparation for a bigger concept that will be announced in due time as our partnership with the FIA. We look forward to giving additional details in the near future.
That and the other big change, though, was a switch to a 2-hour rotating schedule as opposed to just the limited races that it was before. So it seems to be a little bit of a unpleasant unhappiness with that on the forums.
It's going to dilute it. I mean, with the limited time slots, people would show up, and now every 2 hours, 24 hours a day, and there's so many of these FIA F4 races, as I just mentioned. There's fixed, there's open, there's regional, there's 3 regionals, and I almost feel like it's spread too thin, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing with NIS that I enjoy, because I can't run but 2 open races a week, but so there's only 4 altogether. So limited starts is part of the attraction to some of these series.
Agreed. So we'll have to see how this works out. I'm also not a fan of the 2-hour mark, but again, I don't have any skin in it. I'm not really running it because, like I said, there's too many sessions already, and I haven't figured out setups for this yet. I'm still running fixed. So, and the regional ones are all open.
All right, not this weekend, but the following weekend is the 2024 Sebring 12-hour, powered by VCO. I know we're planning on running this. I kind of almost trying to talk the guys into switching to a GT car because the prototype is hard to drive in the rain. Um, but at the same time, that might just be a nice little challenge. It's going to be running the standard IMSA cars. It's Sebring. It's 12 hours, and you could probably bet your rear end it's going to rain.
We had a last week. Greg West verbally said it on Tony Kanon's stream. This week, I don't have the link, but I did see it. Greg West posted uh, in the forums when somebody else asked a similar question, is it going to rain at Sebring? He said, you better bring your umbrella, is what he said. So I don't know if are they doing a one-off for this race to make it rain on purpose, even if the forecast system doesn't want it to rain? Is that what they're doing? Just to, hey, because everyone wants it, because in a big event.
I'm sure.
It's not like it doesn't rain in Florida at this time of year, though.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty realistic, but hopefully it's. I kind of hope it'll be like it does in Florida, where it's a thunderstorm here or there, right? So you're mostly driving through the transition. That was not as undrivable when it started to dry. I started spinning out a lot less, and even started was able to start running some of the 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 regular racing line instead of the dry line, or instead of the offline racing line, even though there was still spray everywhere and puddles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I think we said earlier, I just hope that it doesn't turn into planning to run IMSA. I hope we don't end up with 8 out of 12 weeks where it's raining, because that's just ridiculous, in my opinion.
Have you run a Suzuka race yet?
I probably will this weekend.
All right, we have another series, Brad, the BMW M Power Series. I think we talked about this one, but it kicks off this week.
Yep, we talked about it last week. So this is a lot of all the BMW cars, even some of the legacy cars. So this week is going to start with the kicks off with the BMW M Hybrid V8 at Sebring. So again, different track, different car each week, all BMWs. So pretty neat series.
And this next one is not a a special event, Mike, but it's a change to something with the Super Formula lights, right?
Yeah, basically, you know, they say the masses have spoken and you have been heard. In conjunction with the patch, we're going to extend race links for both the fixed and the open series. Fixed will go to 20, open will be 30 minutes. And so they're also, when season two starts, they want to give details on the Super Formula Light and both their fixed and open setup series. And so they want to clarify some confusion regarding this car in the current Dallara F3. The Super Formula Lights car is not a replacement for the Dallara F3. Now, I think I may have even said that last week, that I had heard that the F3 may be going away because of this car. And so they put that rumor to rest. They said, no, it's not going away. Also, it says, with the addition of this car in the series, we now have the makings of 3 different Continental Formula Racing ladders. Super Formula Lights will run as a virtual support series for its counterpart, the Super Formula. These series will share the same schedule in order to maintain that aspect. The Formula C Super Formula Lights fixed series will run 20-minute sprints, while the open will be slightly longer at 30.
I still think it would be nice if they could kind of coalesce or post some sort of ladder for the open wheel guys, because I still think there's a lot of confusion.
Well, look, they say they have the makings of 3 Continental Racing ladders. Like you said, let's see those. I need to see them, a visual representation. Okay, start in this car, go to this car, go to that car.
I think it would be good just because with the splitting of the I rating now between sports car and open wheel, like we talked before, if with them being split, I am more advantageous to try an open wheel car now because I before I wouldn't didn't want to because it would just destroy what I was doing for IMSA.
I have
Hey,
an
you don't
idea. What if you open up the series? You know how you go in and you click on a series and it opens up a little window and they have different pages you can go to. Well, maybe one of the tabs or pages is ladder or racing ladder, and it shows where this series fits in a ladder of open wheel or whatever it is. It shows the other series that you might have participated before you got to this one, and then these are the series you might go into next.
but do you have to follow that ladder, or can you just jump to any of the cars in the next class?
Just put it out there as a suggestion, kind of thing. Because that's the thing. It's like there's so many different options. Like I have no idea what to run next. Which car do I go to next when I'm ready with to move up?
Well, and they've launched the whole new you know introduction to iRacing, to where it kind of supposed to kind of, you pick which discipline do you want to do, dirt, asphalt, and do you want to do open wheel, do you want to do sports car, or whatever you want to do. To me, it would add to that to where you can lay out what someone should do. I mean, we've talked before with the issue with fast track is guys get into cars that they're not ready for. So if you're try to give people an idea of, hey, this is the natural progression that you should use. We've talked about this on the dirt side. I'm not a dirt guy, but with the micro sprint, at some point I'm going to try that because I've tried the other ones and it's a disaster. I can't even turn a lap in the whatever the modified or whatever it is. I can't even turn a lap, so I've got to do something differently. Um, so it's just an idea. I think it would be good.
But here's my idea on that. When you're done racing that micro sprint, Brad, and you feel comfortable, what's the next car you should go into?
I am glad to see
David.
that they've increased the time on these races because when I was in the rookie, on these cars, yeah, you would practice for 3 minutes, and then you take 8 minutes to qualify for only a 12-minute race, and I thought that was an incredible waste of time. So I for one am glad they've increased the length of these races.
All right, podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Make sure to join us in the discussion on Discord and iRacersLounge.com for the show notes. We have merchandise at iRacersLounge.shop. We're in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network, and we're still looking for a sponsor for the show. Fantasy. John, how about what would you get?
You know what? I didn't. I This week I did not get in, so I didn't win.
Very good.
Um,
Ryan Curry won this week.
yeah. So your top 10 results from Phoenix was Trick Tickle, Res Dog, Frozen Cactus, Mackenzie Stevens, Connor Truman, Dollar Cents, NASCAR Jedi 2, Don't Mind Me, XJ's on the Fireball, and Fat Boy 1990. So, see a few few of the league guys in there, and I'm horrible at this. I'm just I think I'm making good choices, and I can't do anything. I'm stuck at like 60th place or something.
Yeah, Brian won Phoenix. Greg was third. Mackenzie was tied for third. Tyler was 10th.
Overall standings, we got Cletus 545 in first, followed Iris and Mason, Mike Go Lightly, Canadian, Pete Racing, Fat Boy 1990, Trick Nickel, Dollar Cents, Connor Truman, and XJ's on the Fireball.
So Phoenix, I mean, what do you guys think? Chris Bell. It looked like the Joe Gibbs cars were the Toyotas were the ones to beat for sure.
Well, they felt pretty good, I think, coming out of that test last year that they were going to be in good spot, and I think they figured out their body a lot quicker than Ford and Chevrolet. So, I mean, again, it's a Phoenix race. I mean, I don't think you don't you don't go to Phoenix expecting to have a very good race. Was it okay for? I think it was okay for a Phoenix race, but it's just it's Phoenix. It's never produced good racing.
Yeah. And I think the big discussion coming out of Phoenix was horsepower. We want more horsepower. And we seem to have a lot of rumble. I heard Kevin Harvick say it this week. I've heard Kyle Larson talk about it. We've heard Denny Hamlin talk about it. You got the stars of NASCAR begging for more horsepower. Where is I called out Steve Phelps. I'm not afraid to do it. I went on the Twitter and told him the experiment is over. It's time to try some high horsepower again.
Well, I think it's what they need to go back to. I mean, I can remember in the late '90s going to Martinsville, and we would sit uh, at the exit of turn two, and literally you could watch them sideways halfway down the backstretch because if you got on the gas too hard, you just lit the tires up. I mean, literally sideways all the way down the backstretch trying to put the power down. There was a point where that's what made these guys into heroes. You're controlling a extremely fast car, and it's again, it's just I don't like the current iteration of the car, and I think guys are starting to speak their mind that it's not producing good racing, and it's not where we need to be. I think as a series, when typically the best racing every single weekend is Saturday in the Xfinity.
And the excuses of it costing too much money to go more horsepower is out the window now too. We've had Kyle say his Hendrick Motorsports team could bring 1,000 horsepower next week.
To
and,
play
and it would
devil's
work.
advocate though, I'll speak for Bobby basically because I don't know if I completely agree with him, but I'll argue for him since he wasn't here. He says that sure that would be no big deal for Hendrick, but that it'll run the small teams out.
Again, I don't care about cost control in racing. I don't care. If you're going to get into racing, you're going to spend money. I just don't care. I don't care that when I watch professional football that they spend millions and millions of dollars on a player. I don't care. That's what they're there for.
But they do have a salary cap.
I understand that, but again, it's racing has always been that way, and it's never going to. You just can't change that. Don't worry about. Again, if guys don't have money, they'll get out of it. They'll get out of it. The ones that have money will stay in it. I just think it's a horrible excuse.
That is, and the other reason I think people are saying NASCAR's holding to their guns is the eventual electrification of the series, hybrid or otherwise. I say, you know what? That's going to be the hill that NASCAR dies on if they go there. Now, Bristol, what do you guys got? Much of the same at Bristol, probably the Gibbs people again. We got the car now.
I don't know. I mean, it's a different package. They're not running that. Believe it or not, they're not running the short track package at a short track. So this will be the normal package. I don't know. We haven't. I think Chris Buescher won the fall race last year, so I think it's going to be Bristol. They'll probably put some PJ1 down on the bottom, and they'll screw it up. And again, that's another track where it was better before they decided to mess it up.
So you liked 25 cautions a race?
I preferred when you had to hunt the bottom. I just think it produced better racing. I just think it did. It's typical SMI. They're very good about taking something that's good and screwing it up, i.e., Texas and Bristol.
I didn't like 25 cautions a race.
Again, I don't know. I mean, it's just I don't know if it's so much the track. Again, it's the car. It's the different the different generations of the car that we've had. we could go down a rabbit hole for an hour, and we won't.
All right, let's go into hardware and software. Starting with software, the new spotter pack that we previewed last week has been released. Uh, Puck Vanek Incorporated has released the Donald Trump spotter pack live on X. We got a link where you can grab it and a couple of notes on it. It's an alpha version, still got some bugs to work out. He has not put in all the lines for rain yet. There's also some issues with the guy talking too softly, and he's going to work on that on 1.1 with a version that he's going to put out on Discord, I guess. So I guess if you want to get active updates, you'll want to go to Discord. In fact, the pack is linked on Discord. The link is a Discord link. I just now noticed that. So, yep, if you want a Trump spotter pack, go to this link.
And he says, "Help us make AI spotters great again."
All right. Is a big TV the way to go, John?
So random call sign. The guy did a video. He had been using an ultra wide for quite a while and decided to go to a bigger screen. And I think it was a 43 inch. I did watch this, but it was last week. So I got to tell you, I'm going to digress a little bit. This guy says on his video, he said, I'm getting kind of old, so I can't worry about speed anymore. And I thought, dude, you're 35 years old. How about if you're 63? But anyway, so he went to a big screen and he wanted to see if it was worth it. He thought it was a good expense. He's running a single monitor. It looked a little big to me because he had it right in his face, but he gave the pros and cons of going, to the big screen, Mike. And I know you're wanting these things, but it seems to me you really got to get the placement right. You can't just have it right in your face.
Yeah, placement is key. I like what the idea he did. It's big enough where he's getting some vertical FOV, and that's really what you get when you go to these bigger monitors. I think the other thing that the video really kind of brought out is he went, I think, to a television. It wasn't necessarily a monitor, and he basically said the television was just fine. You don't necessarily need a monitor.
Yeah, and I think
triples of that size would be cool, I think.
Yeah, it would be, and I think a TV screen is fine. With iRacing, you can get the resolution you need.
All right, so I'll open this next one up with a question because I did get a chance to watch this video. Is this our first video with Kayla, or has she been doing some of the reviews? Because I know we had another person recently added, female reviewer.
No, that was a different lady, actually.
Okay.
So
All right,
this
so
is another new streamer.
Yep, she's effectively a real life racer, right? Or she at least likes to take a Camaro that she has super souped up and run it on tracks. And she said she decided to get a sim rig because their cars are all parked in the garage in the winter. And so you get to watch her build the rig, and she tried it out it's a Mosa with the GT Omega. So you kind of, entry level for, I wouldn't say entry level, but early level gear, I guess you could say it, lower on the lower end, but with an ultra wide, and was real pleased with how it feels, just like the real car, the responsiveness. She talked about how you could feel the bumps on the road, and the car was acting like just how it's supposed to. Now, she only tried it on a set of Corsa and said she's probably going to get into iRacing, I think, next week or so.
Right. I just find it incredible that somebody is like buying, $1,000 or more worth of sim equipment, and they're not even signed up for iRacing. Like, she's buying this stuff for a set of Corsa. And that just blows my mind, that, she hasn't even gotten involved in iRacing and she's spending this money. But nice setup. It reminds me about the GT Omega. Look, they got a bad name with that one product that was their tubular cockpit, where the monitor was a half mile away from the steering wheel. and they got a real bad name with that. But this is not that cockpit. This is an 80/20 style cockpit. She clearly has her monitor right on top of the wheelbase where it should be. So GT Omega has finally got their stuff right, and it looks like a decent rig.
All right, Brad, we have a review on Turtle Beach. And is this the first we've heard of Turtle Beach? I don't remember this name.
I think we touched on them a few weeks ago. So we actually have two reviews. We got one from OC Racing, and then we've got one from Boosted Media. And both of them kind of come to the same ending point. This is, I don't want to say it's not entry level. I mean, I think this is going to compete with your G20. Is it 9 now? I don't know whatever version Logitech.
So that is entry level.
If you're gonna, it's above that. Both of them come, find a lot of issues. The button box, when you push on it, it's not very secure. So, it's a very expensive piece to be all kind of integrated, and you just don't have a ton of options out of it. It's kind of what I would take away from it.
Flex everywhere. The pedals almost unusable. Yeah, the button box has so much flex in it. You push on it and it bends in because it's only attached to this thinnest piece of metal.
Yeah, Will Ford talks about, on the button box, there's a start button and a stop button. He's like, you would think that, for us guys that are sim racers, that would be your ignition and that would be your to stop the car. No, that's to turn on the wheel and turn off the wheel. So, it's A for effort, probably C for execution.
It sounds like this turtle might be beached.
But
yeah, this is the don't buy.
No, even if you're on a console, you need to look at some of those lower end Moza bundles or something. Don't go to this.
Absolutely right. Sim Magic Moza has got everything on this Turtle Beach.
All right, John, does Dave Cam say buy this next item?
Well, he does, kind of. I mean, he doesn't use one, but he said if he was going to use one, this would be the one to get. Solpec put this out. This is a nice box. I did look at it. It's 359 euros. Touchscreen, LED lights. It's got everything on it I think you would need for a display. And so if you're in the market for it, I'd look at it. It's got a 5-inch touchscreen, customizable RGB, 33 telemetry configurable LEDs, push buttons on each side. I mean, on and on and on. Well built. This is a display to look at if you're in the market.
So, what's unique about this one, I think, is those two push buttons you mentioned, and he has it where he could reach up and hit that button, and then on the display it would toggle through like little black boxes, as you would call it. One was a relative, the other was tires, and the other was this or that. And so you could just reach up and hit the little button and it would go through it. I have yet to see a display with a physical button like that to change what's showing on the display, but this one has it. The RPM lights along the top too are pretty nice too.
So when I looked at this, and maybe there's something out there that I don't know about, but it's almost as though they're on the cusp of having a display / button box all in one. I don't know if anybody makes that, but it made me think, that's really the next thing we need.
Well, Stream Deck's almost
too much stuff up there.
The Stream Deck is almost that way because the buttons can change.
Yeah, I mean, any of them that offer the touch screen, you can either slide left or right if you want to change dash screens and stuff. And I think there's some where you can, between Sim Hub where you can identify some stuff. So I think DDUs are great. I had one years ago in my first rig that I had before I sold everything. I've thought about it, but then the problem I've got is for us guys that do more oval racing, there's really nobody makes a good digital dash for the Cup car that I've been able to find. And then it just, I don't know. I ended up taking it off more than I probably have it on.
It'd be cool to have a NASCAR digital dash now that you say that. The other problem with these dashes, especially on triples, is it literally covers up your controls in iRacing, the play, the pause, the rewind, the fast forward, and it's really hard to manipulate your computer with that little dash in front of it.
Yes, if we ever get to the spot where we can adjust the UI or something in the game, perhaps, that would be good. I mean, that's an idea too. I mean, if we can get in the car, we can move every black box around, all that stuff around. Why can't we take the in the UI the bottom and move that to the top or move that somewhere else?
Right. Like the people who design the UI are iRacers. They probably have used these kind of displays. They have the same problem. It's blocking the play button. Well, move the play button somewhere else.
All
It's
right.
a beauty. It's got lights on the edge, on the left and the right too, and I think those are can be like the spotter lights too.
This next item is a quick hit Instagram post, and they kind of missed a branding opportunity here because they could have just called this the Mo Stop.
The Moza E-Stop is what they're calling it, and it's due soon. That's all we got.
So up until now, Moses never offered an e-stop.
Well, they have. Yeah, they've got one, but I'm a little confused on this because the Moses steering wheel has a setting called hands-off protection that keeps the steering wheel from going out of control. So if that's the case, and it does work because I use it, so why do you need an e-stop button? I don't understand why I would need one of these.
Because software could still glitch and it could go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an e-stop with my Sim Magic, that's just right on the rig to the left of the button. I mean, left of the wheel. So I understand that. It's um, just seemed kind of odd that I guess it's a new one.
um, yeah, I have one for the SemiCube. I literally never use it, but it's there. Like David says, if something goes horribly wrong, you push it. Um, Now, if you hit to the second picture of this post, there's 3 different modes for this button. Mode 1, connect the E-stop switch directly to the PC. Pressing the switch only deactivates the force feedback, which is immediately restored upon release. And then mode 2, you connect it to the base, and then press the switch only deactivates the force feedback, which is immediately restored upon release. And then mode 3, it says pressing the switch completely cuts off power, and after release, the base needs to be powered on again by pressing the power button on the bottom.
That is typically what an e-stop does in the in the world of
Cuts the power.
yeah. I mean, that's the whole purpose of an e-stop. I've got them all over machines at work. I mean, it's whether it's a button or it's a cable to pull. You hit the e-stop, it's done. You've got the machine is down. You've got to repower it.
So you're saying you should run it in mode 3.
Yeah, if it freaks out, just kill the power. I don't want it doing anything. That's what I would want. I mean, I would assume. I've never tried. Maybe I'll try when we get done tonight. I'll try mine on the Sim Magic. I would assume it would cut the power completely, but I don't know.
So if you cut the force feedback, it's going to stop spinning.
Yes, but again, to me, an e-stop would be to kill the power.
Well, we've seen
This
these
might allow you to save the car, or at least get back going without having to completely power cycle it.
That's
So
true too.
we've seen these videos where people literally break a bone because the steering wheel went out of control, but I've never heard of anyone actually using an e-stop button. Is it? I mean, do
Well,
you guys use it?
No, but I think when direct drives first came out, there were issues, I think, where if you hit a wall, the force was not dampened. And I know that, like iRacing has, I don't know about other racing games, I know that iRacing reduces the force feedback on certain sorts of contact. But when again, direct drives first came out, it was pretty wild and crazy. I mean, there were wheels that, I mean, literally would just lose control.
It's a good point. When the software didn't protect us back then like it does now. And you're
Yeah.
right, John. I can't remember of a single incident where somebody's had to use that button in a problem.
I've mostly had to just use it. Mine actually has a regular power button too, so I've actually used it to just turn it on and off instead of having to reach around on the direct drive base. All right, it's that time, John. We've got a new wheel.
Yeah, we get them every week. We've got a new wheel. Well, it's coming soon actually, but Grey Wolf Technologies is going to put some Italian craftsmanship into a new GT wheel. It's called the Grey Wolf GWT01. And I clicked on the link that we've got on the show notes, and really all I got was a coming soon kind of thing. So uh, can't tell you a lot about it. And the picture of it, it's kind of, it's dark, so you can't really see what it looks like, but looks pretty cool. Got some good lights on it.
It looks like a Gomez, actually. I mean, that's what I see when I see it. It looks pretty much like a copy of the Gomez. It's got a 4-inch display, got 5 knobs in the middle, big rotaries, buttons all around. But yeah, it's going to be like a Gomez knockoff. Like you said, there's not a lot of info. This is just a tease.
And right in the same vein, the next one is also right in the same alley. T Engineering has taken to Instagram and announced the ECF2 Formula Wheel, which is also hashtag coming soon. And this one's a Formula Wheel with kind of a more squared off design than most Formula Wheels look, especially at the top. It looks really kind of flat.
Flat
Only
top.
three,
I like
yeah,
that.
only 3 knobs on the bottom, but actually, are those buttons or knobs? I think they may be both. No, they're probably knobs because that one's labeled TC, ABS, and map. Yeah. Um, so it's another Formula Wheel, and I can't see the back of this one, so I can't tell you what its pedal configuration is.
The buttons in the bottom middle intrigue me, or the knobs, as you call them. The labeling around those, it looks they got a million different settings.
Yeah, and that would be specific. The only thing about that is that's going to end up being specific to one car, right? It may not be the same from this car. That's the only issue I would have with that kind of labeling.
Well, and
Got a
then,
unique look.
but I mean, if my issue is if you've got TC, say traction control, and on the wheel it's got, I don't know, 1 through 15 or whatever. The issue is that iRacing specific is, we turn one to the right, the left, we're either increasing or decreasing. So it's, I don't know, it's
Nope. If you have a Formula Wheel, they come with 12 notches, and you can actually program it to send a separate value for each notch, so it doesn't increase and decrease. 4 is always 4 on the wheel, no matter where. If you turn it, if you cycle it all the way around, it will jump from 12 to 1.
Now you're talking about a twisty knob that has a hard stop on the left and a hard on the
Nope,
right,
there's
and
no hard stop.
it can spin.
You can spin it around, but it's like a clock. Every time you pass 12, it goes to 1. It goes right back to 1, and it'll do it in iRacing because I use that to set my traction control in the GTP, and
so.
I can jump. I can literally bounce back and forth between 12 and 1 if I wanted to.
So do you run it as an encoder or as a rotary?
Yeah, it has 12 different codes that it sends to iRacing. It's an option that you have if you have that type of wheel,
Okay.
and you can even put in an offset where you can make 1 be wherever you want 1 to be, if you care. So you can make 1 be at 6 o'clock or 1 be at 12 o'clock, as well, by changing an offset. I can't remember if that's done in iRacing or done on the wheel itself. But that's how those work, and they almost always come with 12 settings. But what's missing is the fact that most cars have 2 traction control settings, not just 1.
We know when I look at this wheel up toward the top, so it looks like you have to put your index fingers through those holes up at the top. And if I'm right about that, that goes back to what we talked about earlier with these e-stop buttons. I mean, that could rip your finger off if that's a problem. Am I right about that, or is it your thumbs?
Thumbs. It's your thumbs that would be in there. Yeah.
which is pretty straightforward with a Formula wheel.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
Yeah, because those grips on the lower side, those look pretty short.
That's just for your extra fingers. Your thumb would go through the circle, so that you could press up on the wheel or down on the wheel with the thumb. You can torque it in both directions. All right. I thought we covered this one last week, Mike, but we've got SimLab pedals available in different colors.
No, we didn't, but this is the XP1 pedals. They have a different color now, black. Kind of an ionized black, but it's it's a pretty simple look. I don't know what color I'd pick if I were getting these pedals.
They look good. I mean, I like that kind of flat anodized black color. I like that.
Yeah, I think the other ones are silver, I think with blue on them. This has some gold on the back, so it's just kind of a different look. It's nice to have choices.
Maybe I read that and we just didn't get to it. I do that sometimes. I'll read a couple of topics ahead, and then you're like, nope, let's jump to results. So I bet you that's what happened. The next one's a pretty quick hit as well. Price announcement. Cubic System has released the pricing for the QS BT1 entry level seatbelt tensioner system, and it's 1,400 euros.
That's a lot of money.
And I haven't heard this one. I want to see this on video. The other one that we've seen is really loud. I think it's the one that Brian McCubbin has, and the sound of it is too much. And so I'm curious, how loud is this one?
That would be interesting. I guess it depends on your situation too. If your speakers are headphones, and if you're in an apartment where the noise could actually disturb a neighbor.
Well, and I would think that maybe if you've got motion, you'd want this. I just can't see where this would do a whole lot if you don't have motion.
Good point. I don't think I would add it if I didn't have motion. This would be like after you have motion, what do you do next? Well, you do stuff like this.
This would definitely give you the braking experience, hard braking.
It's subtle. These are subtle. When you add something like that, it's a subtle change. Kind of like the ambient lighting. I was talking to Justin about that today. At Bristol, the lighting is pretty consistent, but as you go around the track, there is a little kind of strobe to it, because I don't know, because of how the light is at that track, but my ambient light system will present that little strobe effect almost. It's very subtle. You can barely even see it, but as you're driving, the whole effect is pretty cool.
That's on the bucket list for me.
I've got really good ambient lighting in my VR.
It's perfect, I'm sure, right?
The rain is actually really cool in VR too, as well as the reflectivity of the puddles, man. It's pretty good. And I guess I had my shader on a low level because I was not getting the raindrops until today, and I'm glad they're there. I wasn't trying to hack around it. It was pretty neat. I still didn't have to turn my windshield wiper on though, because it was just running off the windshield so well. The Rain-X, I guess.
Yes, Rain-X does wonders.
I did watch one of your streams, David, and it did look pretty good.
All right, we got another wheel, Brad.
Yeah, so we just got a little quick hit here from Apex Racing's releasing their Apex Storm Racing wheel. So this looks more like a GT wheel with a DDU in it. Not a bad looking wheel. Nothing I think to really knock your socks off. The more and more we see of these, it's just another change the name, and it's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's just what it is. I mean, if we had 5 oval wheels being released a week, I think it'd fall into the same category.
It's cheap though. I mean, the price is right. 575 pounds, I guess it is. Um, Look, a wheel with a display like this usually is double that. And so I think that's what makes this one unique is that it's a pretty decent price for a wheel with a display.
Yeah, Mike, that's what I noticed about this. I think it sets it apart. It's like Brad said, we get them all every week we get a wheel, and what can you say about them? But this one does have a nice display, and I think, for the price, when you look at that, it's worth a look.
Well, the next
It is.
Instagram post is also another wheel. They call it the pinnacle of sim racing tech, and it's an elite wheel for those who demand the best. Uh, it comes from VPG Sim, and it's a nice little short, quick promo video. It's right up Mike's TikTok alley. And then if you're on the Instagram post, you can also see a still picture of it, and it's got it looks pretty feature rich, including a display.
Well, you can't see much from the teaser video, but the big thing that sets it apart from the other wheels, it's got a big round knob in the middle to twist. That looks unique from some of the other ones. But VPG, they're known for some really neat wheels. I think they have that one that has the vertical display in it that I was really keen about. That's just a tease. More to come on that one.
All right, so this next headline is perplexing. Is it FIA approved because they just basically allowed for the licensing, or is there actually some kind of safety regulations you have to cover on seats now, Brad?
Well, it's a Ricardo FIA approved sim racing seat. So I think this is the one that we saw in the Joe Rogan build, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. I don't even want to. I think I looked at the price and probably closed the page pretty quick. It's a great looking seat. I just
It's 4,300.
So
yes,
could this one actually go in an actual car?
yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that
this
would
is a
explain
real
it.
race seat, obviously.
But again, Podium F1 is now, or Podium One is selling them. So they, when you're building the $70,000 Joe Rogan seat, just know that about what 6%, 8% of that 10%, almost 10% of the cost of it was just the seat alone.
Look, I think the story here is we have a U.S. distribution point now for Recaro when we didn't have this before. Now, there was another company in North America that was selling Recaro. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Sim Motion, but or maybe Sim Shop out of Texas. But there is a couple of U.S. distributors as of this week with Recaro. Now, look, is any sim racer going to spend $4,300 on a chair? Well, Joe Rogan is because he's a multimillionaire. But the rest of us, I don't think we are. I mean, but boy, it looks good.
Oh yeah, the black and the red is awesome. I mean, the black with just the red highlights looks fantastic.
It does. They have all black, but I do like the black with red trim.
Divorce City.
So who in here runs Race Labs?
Well, I do, but I haven't run in the rain yet. But they've put out an overlay to coincide with the rain. It shows track temperature, air temperature, fog, humidity, wind. So for those who like to run in the rain and use Race Labs, you've got an overlay for it now.
It's clean looking. I mean, like all their stuff. I think most of their overlays are very clean looking.
This would
I
be a
don't.
nice look for you're streaming. You want it up on the stream.
Yeah, that'd be good for that. I know what I'm going to need from JRT when he. I probably should message him. Um, is just a simple forecast, text forecast. I can read radar, but I don't need to be trying to read radar while I'm driving in the rain at Suzuka. But something that just says maybe rain stop in 20 minutes, rain start in 30. Something
Well,
that
that's
kind of
what you
says
got
that.
your spotter for in
Yeah, the
Uh,
iRacing.
spotter gives those calls.
oh, he will. Okay.
Yeah, there's a
I
yeah
would still rather visibly see it as well.
yeah you could map a button to get updates on the forecast from your spotter.
Ah, okay. Well, there's another button, and as well as the button for I've got. I guess there's a button for the wiper as well that I'm gonna have to. I'm running out of buttons.
Yeah, yes, you got
I
to
got a
have the
shitload of
wiper
buttons, and
button.
I'm running out of buttons.
You got to have a wiper button.
Cube controls, Mike.
Yeah, we got a new version of a wheel from them. It's called the GTX2. It's their top-notch GT incorporating Cube Control's motorsport experience. It's 1,365 euros. It's got looks like a 4-inch display, 3 rotary knobs below, um, and the typical button layout that you would normally see on Cube controls.
Yeah, I don't think those yellow buttons are going to be very accessible where they are than on the lower outsides.
Lower ones, yeah. And there's different color choices as you look through the pictures on the website. And so they have a front color. You can pick green, white, black, or red. And I really like the look of this, especially the red one and the green one.
Yeah, but I'd have to agree with David that some of those buttons are just not convenient.
Yeah, and of course this has that magnetic connector for the cabling that will rip off if the wheel goes crazy, which I've never had a problem with, knock on wood. But I do like the idea that it's magnetic.
All right, well, that's
Cool.
all of the hardware. So let's hit the results, Mike.
All right, Friday Open, Phoenix, P7. I had a great run. I was running high as second, basically top 5 most of the day. Near the end, I was running fourth, and I got ran over in the middle of the corner from behind. Put me back to 11th. I was able to rally back to 7th, but not cool. I mean, go around is what I told the guy. Go around. David, you got wrecked.
Which day are we on? I'm sorry.
Friday Open.
Friday Open. Got wrecked out. Let me scroll back up. Oh yeah, this was just getting caught up in somebody else's mess. I ran clean all the race, was on the way to a top 10, and then two guys in front of me just started disagreeing with each other, and I got collected and put into the inside wall, and 9 minutes to repair with 6 laps left.
All right, Chris Waldron, P15, drive-through penalty near the end, 24x from getting bumped. Good track, but it's a crap show on the desert. Kyle Pendergraph, blinking issue. John, P18.
Yeah, lap 10, some cars wrecked in front of me, and I slowed down pretty gently, but the guy behind me just kept on racing, plowed into the back of me, pushed me hard into the wrecked cars. I had 5 minutes of optional that took 8 pit stops to get fixed. So my race was ruined early on. We had 14 cautions. That's one every 10 laps. That's not acceptable. I know everybody had that at Phoenix this week. I'm perplexed. Um, it was just Phoenix was awful, guys. What's wrong with people?
It's that dog leg, right? It's screwing everybody up. But we were wrecking on the other side of the track, too.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
All right, Brad, you got wrecked.
Yeah, had a good run Wednesday night and figured I'd try to do better on Friday and Yeah, started out great, got the pole, and just not paying attention. Thought I was in second on the restart. I was in third. Hit the gas, and yeah, it's pretty frustrating when you don't go anywhere. So ended up getting shuffled back to about P10, and then everything was fine through the dog leg and all that, and we hit the backstretch, and guys, I think in third or fourth, decided to take it like 3 or 4 wide, and the whole daggone track was blocked, and there's just nowhere to go. I mean, it's that backstretch is it's like Bristol. I mean, it clogs up, and you have nowhere to go, and ended up getting wrecked on lap 23. I think I had about 7 or 8 minutes of damage. I was like, yeah, I'm done. So not a good end to the night.
Right. And then Sunday Open, I wrecked out. I had a pretty uneventful race. I was running fifth with about 45 to go after a restart. The guy in front of me wouldn't go. I was super frustrated, yelling at him on the radio. Um, anyway, coming through the next set of corners, I turned the wheel to the left just a hair too much, and it hooked. And then it hooked back to the right real hard, and I caused the big one. Nobody hit me. I wrecked all by myself, and I wiped out everybody. And I think maybe that's the answer, John. I was good there. I was running top five. I was a car that could win, but I still wrecked. Chris Waldron got a P9, got wrecked several times early on, lost some laps, was able to get back on the lead lap. Cautions and pit strategy went my way. Officially joined the 3000 club with iRating. David, you got intentionally wrecked.
Yep, and it's on. You can look at a little playlist if you go to my YouTube channel, where this guy, first of all, thinks that I hit him on purpose or bumped him, and I couldn't avoid him because the car in front of him spun. We're in the middle of a straightaway, right? Everybody's foot's on the gas. The guy in front of him spins. He gets off the gas. I get off the gas, and the guy behind me gets off the gas, and still hits me, and I hit him, and it turns him because it's a stack up. Before that caution is over, he intentionally wrecks me twice, including spearing me into another car. And then for the next 30 laps, continues to harass me the whole race, hits me about 6 other times, including wrecking me again once we go green, causing another caution, causing me to rack up a 22x. Um, he did get suspended, as far as I can tell. He hasn't run a race since the notification came out. Um, I would still, I personally would rather just see him not be allowed to run NIS. I just, we can't know what they do. So, does 1 week get the message across or not? Who knows? I did still come back and stick around. I was stuck 2 laps down for like forever, and then with like 6 laps to go, I got lucky dogs twice in a row, and came and I still had speed in the car, even though it had about 5 minutes of damage that I had gotten fixed, um, and got back up to 16th.
Boy, it was blatant. It was you were under yellow, you were slow at near the entrance of pit road. He come flying in 40 mile an hour faster and just plow into you.
Yeah, and it took out another guy as well. And then he hits me again on the same caution. So I hope it's longer than a week, but I mean, yeah, there was no chance to apologize or to discuss what happened. He just thinks that I guess he just assumed I turned him, not understanding that he checked up in the middle of a straightaway, and I did everything I could to not hit him. And when he hit me, the guy behind me was apologizing for hitting me because we were stacked up. That's what happens when you have an accident right in front of you.
I think it goes to show you don't lose your cool before you look at the replay. Don't get your ass suspended by iRacing for doing something you probably are going to regret after you look at the replay.
That's kind of a normal routine. I hate to say it in the overworld, guys just immediately, blame somebody else. And all you gotta do is go back and look at the replay, and you need to be man enough to know if you screwed up, you screwed up. I've done it, where I've screwed up, and I'll send the guy a message afterwards and say, "Hey, man, that was on me," and it's what it is.
And that's something that kind of gets under my skin a little bit is when people don't apologize when they clearly did something wrong. I experienced that today. I got doored by a guy blatantly, and I called him out over the radio. Dude, you can't even say you're sorry? He just nothing, just crickets, you know. Maybe he has the chat off, but I find it incredibly disrespectful when they don't, say something. All right, Brian Curry. Um, all right, this was a hard one to swallow. He was running top five, P2 for the longest time, only took rights on a stop and had to take the other ones and lost track position. Something weird at the end, like he beat the pace car to the checker. So I had left early because I got wrecked out. But what I had heard is he won this race. Brian Curry won NIS. It was a final green white checker, I think. The caution had come out as they were coming to the checker, and he beat the pace car to the checkered line. They took his win away. Or it was maybe he took the checker and then the next lap around he got in front of the pace car and it took his win away. It was something like that. But he ended up last car on the lead lap instead of winning the race. All right, moving on to Sunday Fixed. I got my best finish of the week, P5. Had a great run, top 10 basically. Got up to 16x, had no actual damage at all, and brought it home P5. I think my best open finish was 7th at Phoenix. All right, let's move on to Bristol. I ran P15. I T-boned a guy really hard on the first caution, 5 minutes damage. Struggled to stay on the lead lap after that, ran near the back, got caught up in 2 other cautions for additional damage, got a third wreck to get me to 16x with 70 to go, basically just trying to keep it on the end of the lead lap, and that's where I finished P15. David, you got wrecked out.
Yeah, the high line was where you wanted to be, and I got to the outside of a guy who was hogging the high line and holding people up all race, and I got there clean, and then he doored me into the wall, and that was it.
Yep. And Justin Pearson wrecked out. He actually rage quit. He got so mad. It was kind of towards the end. He got dumped or something. Brad, you almost did it. P2.
Yeah, it was a good race. Very challenging. So started P6. Ended up getting the lead. Guess about lap 70 or so. We were a lot of cautions, but ended up leading 59 laps. Finally pitted around, I think, like lap 20 or so. Lap one. I mean, I'm sorry, 130 or so, something like that. We were long into a run. Screwed up, overshot my pit stall. Ended up restarting P8. Had gotten up to 5th. Ended up getting turned. Went back and looked at the replay today. And it was one of those deals where I probably came up just a little bit. So I was angry at the time, but I typically don't say anything until I can go back and look. So ended up sliding down the whole front stretch. Sat there and didn't hit anything. So I was like, well, I'm not going to pull back up and get, T-boned by somebody. So I went ahead and waited. Ended up losing a lap. Decided to pit to get tires. We're not really sure how the tires are going to be after sliding the entire front stretch at Bristol. Really, in hindsight, that was a mistake. I probably should have just taken the wave around as quickly as we were getting yellows. I could have gotten tires, but however, we ended up going through a bunch of yellows. Finally, got my lap back, and that was after getting two 4Xs on ghosting, which kept me from getting lucky dog. But once I got back on the lead lap, drove back to the front, survived multiple yellows. Final green white checkered was in P2. Really made 2 shots to get to the inside. It's so hard to get by on the bottom. All the guys got to do is crouch a little bit. You just can't run the car off the corner. So in hindsight, probably should have tried the high side, but like you said, or Dave said, I probably would have gotten wrecked. But at the end of the day, finished P2. It was a good run. So it was definitely an exciting night. That's the best finish I've had since getting back on the sim. So that win's hopefully just around the corner.
Here's how I believe the
knocking on
tires
the
work.
door.
If you spin, your tires will get hot, but they don't get extra worn out. And we don't have like flat spots like you do in real life. So as long as your tires are able to cool off under caution, a spin is not going to be that big of a deal. Now, if you're on a road course, when you spin and light the tires up and try to get right back into it, they're going to be so hot you're not going to be able to drive at 100%. You got to let them get cooled back off first. But once they cool off, they're fine. You're not going to lose an extra. You're not. They're not going to be extra worn from a spin out.
Yeah, like I said, in hindsight, that was a mistake, and it just cost me a bunch of extra driving and really more uh, aggravation than anything else. I should have just stayed out, taken the wave around, and be done.
I think you led the most laps, if I'm not mistaken. And man, when you slid through your box and got kind of put back, man, if that was the one little hiccup. I mean, if you hadn't done that, you would have stayed up front and maybe missed all that trouble.
Yeah,
But look, at the end of this, I think you have to be in the lead when you're on that final green white checker. You can't win it from second.
no, you can't. Like I said, just I got underneath him, got up, all the way up to his door, and he did the same thing I would have done. He crowded me, which made me have to get out of the gas. I don't blame him for that. So it was a good, clean run. But yeah, the slide through the pit stall put me back in eighth, and I was driving like a lunatic trying to get back to the front. So it is what it is.
Right, and then Kyle Pendergraph ran. He got a P15, got a passing under yellow, and went down 4 laps. Ouch. I ran today, Thursday Open, wrecked out. I kept getting involved in everyone else's incidents. I have zero luck. I was in the first caution again. I had 8x with zero damage, not a second of damage, and I had 8x. Then when I got to the 12x, that was 5 minutes damage, and then when I got to 16, the car wouldn't drive, and I just parked it. Now, Justin ran with me. I don't have his result. I don't know if he was able to finish the race because I rage quit. All right, let's talk other racing. Let's talk IndyCar iRacing Series at Sebring, P7. I actually got ran over from behind from a guy not once, but twice, the same guy. I was pitting for damage. He ran over another guy. But anyway, I kept on, ended up getting a drive-through penalty for too many incidents, but still brought it home P7 thanks to a ton of attrition. What a fun series that was. We ran that Saturday night. FIA F4 at Snetterton Racing Circuit. This is my first race ever at Snetterton. I qualified 13th out of 22. I got completely wrecked in an incident on lap 1 that put me back to dead last, and then I worked my way back up to finish P14. Pretty normal at these races to get wrecked in the first lap, but to stay in it, you can usually make spots up because people wreck off.
That's Satterton's one of the free tracks that they released this patch, wasn't it?
I believe so, either this one or the patch or the release before. But yeah, it's the first time I've had a chance to run it. There's not a lot of visual markers for where the corners are. It's kind of hard to learn the track, but it didn't take me too long to kind of get the hang of it. All right, John Curley, C Trucks, P8.
Yeah, we had finally had a clean race. This was at Auto Club. We just had one caution, which is unheard of these days. I gambled, stayed out on tires for a long time because I figured there'd be a caution and I'd pick up spots, but didn't get it. But I did gain 2 spots staying out. Couldn't catch the lead pack, but, I'll take a top 10 any day for me. I don't think I've won a race since they buried treasure at Oak Island. So top 10s are good for me. I didn't put it on here, but I did do that IndyCar series at Sebring. I wrecked out, destroyed my car. I love that series, but I'll tell you, Sebring, I can't see the track. I mean, I can't find the markers. I can't find, the boundaries. And I was all over the place, but man, that IndyCar series, that's a good one. I'm glad they brought that in.
Sebring, you mostly look for those little cones.
It's flat.
I did, but those, if you if the perception, for me, those cones are so tiny, and I just had too much trouble. I mean, and my eyesight's not bad, but I just couldn't get the depth perception right, couldn't get the boundaries right, and I just totally destroyed the car.
Now there were some other guys that ran with us. I think Greg maybe ran. I think he wrecked out. I forget who else was in it. Maybe Justin. But it was a good race. I think we race again in 2 weeks at the Auto Club. All right, and then B Open Brad P8.
Yeah, so I decided to run the Xfinity car. Yeah, I had a great race. So was surprised is how much better the racing was versus NIS. Super competitive, super respectful. Started P11, ran top 10 most of the race. It was hard to pass, but again, racing was super clean. Really was probably the most fun I've had in a few weeks. Such a fun car to run, driving off the right rear and just enjoying it. So try to run a few more of those. It was fun.
All right, let's jump to final thoughts. David Hall.
Spring break next week. I'll be in and out, but should be able to get a little bit of extra racing in, and also just really getting ready for that Sebring run. I'm apprehensive about running in that rain. It's definitely going to be a whole different world, but it should add maybe actually a little bit of variety to what can happen there as well.
Look, it's not going to rain all 12 hours. I mean, it might not even rain during your stint. It'll be someone else's stint. So don't get too caught up.
Well, that brings up a question. If you've got one guy who's better in the rain, do you just have them sit on call, right? And does that play into everybody's real life schedules?
You got to get the participation in there. Everybody's got to get their fair
Mhm.
share.
Okay, Brad, final thoughts.
I'm gonna run Bristol again tomorrow night. Feel like I let one get away last night, so looking forward to that. Not looking forward to Coda next week. I hate the track, and I've got to learn it. Probably hate it more than any track I've raced at. So, um, but we'll have some fun. Hopefully, get a little wet at Suzuka this weekend. We'll see.
Boy, the trick at Coda is not get the one-offs, because if you get one a lap, I mean, that's too many. Yeah, you'll be done in 17 laps. So the one-offs are really hard to avoid there. They really keep them tight to the track. But I actually like Coda, so I'm looking forward to it. John Curley, final thought.
Yeah, going to run Bristol this week. Haven't done it yet. Look forward to that. I like that track. Had a lot of fun during week 13 running those micro sprints. I looked forward to those, and they didn't disappoint. Those things are great. Brad, you talked about doing dirt. Start with those micro sprints. Those are great little cars. And I'm glad to be gone from Phoenix, man. Hated that place.
Yep. And my final thoughts, wow, just trying to get some points. Phoenix, got a top 10. Bristol, I'm hoping for a top 10. I haven't got it, but we're certainly going to try. Um, really good to see other teammates doing well. Brad about to win his first race in a long time. David, I think you're leading the points in Division Two, or you were.
No, I'm like P3
You
or
were
4 now.
before the week. Yeah, but not now. But you're in the mix, and I'm not too far back. But yeah, just getting into the flow of the season. We don't have any off weeks for quite a while, so let's go get it. With that, we'll see you on the track later.